Hi, my name is Matt Luther. I'm here to present the Principles of Selling Final Project and to talk about the 3 interviews I conducted across the sales industry. So, to go over my outline. Number one, we have this outline here. Then we have the industry specifics, interviewees, the topics, summary, and then closing and works cited. So, first of all is car sales. Car sales is what you would probably traditionally think about when you were thinking about a salesperson trying to push a product onto somebody or really sell a product to a consumer. So there's 17,700 franchise auto dealerships across the United States. They all work on commissioned and minimums and average percentage pay, which means that they get paid based off the percentage of what they sell and also have minimum salaries throughout the year. And lastly, the automotive industry global sales of passenger cars are forecasted at 77.7 million before the end of the year, coming up here in the next few weeks. So within the car sales industry, I talked to Alex Smith. Alex Smith works for Craig Smith Auto Group in Galion, Ohio. He has 2 years work experience in the industry, and what's unique about Alex Smith, he's actually a current Northwood student here. His family owns Craig Smith Auto Group, so he took 2 years off between high school and college to sell cars and came here to Northwood to get an automotive degree. The reason he wanted to get in the industry is because he's a very big people person, he's passionate about the product, and he's found quick success within the industry. The next industry is real estate. So real estate, just like car sales, is strictly commission based. And what I mean by real estate is that it's the process of selling or buying a home. There are 2 million active realtors across the country. There are around 90,000 real estate brokerage firms, and 5.2 million homes were sold in 2013. Obviously, this is an outdated statistic, but I just wanted to put this in here to really show how much the housing market has grown and how much larger it would be today. So the person that I interviewed within the real estate industry is Wyatt Wilson. Wyatt Wilson is a realtor and he works for Tremaine Real Living Real Estate. Is out of Fenton, Michigan. He's a Northwood alum of last year. He has 3 years experience. He started this and acquired his real estate license his junior year of college. He has found rapid success within his family's real estate firm, and he loves it because it's an open lifestyle. He doesn't have a boss, and he names his own hours. Here in the slide, you can show that Wyatt is on the cover of a magazine for Michigan for real estate, and he has had just some success within the last 2 years of really having a focus. The last industry I want to talk about is medical sales. Medical sales gets mixed up with pharmaceutical sales. Medical sales is anything product of physical technology or any other product that you would see within a hospital or a nursing home or anything like that. It is not pharmaceutical, which is the medication. So the average income with medical sales reps are $140,000 to $150,000. It is a common age between 41 and 50, so there's definitely some jobs within the next coming years once these people get out of the industry. 54% of these people have 6% or 6+ years of experience. It is a consistent field because we'll always need medical products, and has a high turnover rate of employees, and we'll get into that later in the presentation about why that is. So the person that I interviewed in the medical sales is my father, Tom Luther. He works as a medical sales rep as well as a COO for Scribe Healthcare Technology, which is a medical technology company that sells products that test different medical processes. He has a degree from Eastern Michigan University with accounting and computer information systems. His previous work experience includes public accounting, first graduating, working in the automotive industry within sales, and then also working throughout different technology industries and sales firms to work with that kind of software. The reason he got into it is because of his soft skills and the financial reward that he can earn. So, next part of the presentation is the topics with the book in relation with having to do with my interviews. So we have building trust, ethics, understanding the buyer and client, communications of the product value, concerns, earning commitment, customer relationship, customer networking, self-leadership, and teamwork. So, building trust. I related this chapter with the definition of trust, which is the extent of the buyer's confidence that he or she can rely on the salesperson's integrity. So how do you build trust with your clients? And I asked each one of my interviewees this. So Alex Smith would say that building trust is by asking questions about somebody's personal life or something outside of sales. So Alex really focuses on things not just including what they're talking about when trying to close a sale, but also something that might personally relate to them and something they have in common. Talking to Wyatt, he said, I work hard to maintain good communication with my clients, provide timely feedback, and good customer service. So Wyatt really likes to communicate with his clients, and he really likes to make sure that they're his number one priority and feel that way. Lastly, Tom said, be transparent and truthful. Always under promise so I can over deliver. And so I talked to Tom about the under promising statement, and what he said is, this isn't a bad thing in sales. This doesn't mean that you should tell them that you do limited work, then give them more. What he means by you always want to meet their sales objectives and tell them you're going to, but also put in extra work within the sales field to make sure that they have a secured feeling and even an overachieved feeling once they get that product. So the next is ethics. And ethics is the right and wrong conduct of individuals and institutions in which they are a part. So I asked the question of how important is ethics when dealing with sales? Alex Smith responded, show I am human with ethical behavior and not just someone trying to sell them a product. So when talking to Alex about this statement, he just says that he goes out there not focusing about selling them a car, but trying to help the people out. Obviously, that is his job to sell the car, but you want to make sure that he finds the right fit, and he's not, hurting the buyer at the end of the sale. Next, Wyatt says, I always make sure I find the right home for the buyer and not just the focus on the financials from my end. So very similar to Alex, and I talked to Wyatt about the specifics of real estate with this. Obviously, people are looking for certain things in a home, and everybody's different in that way. And there might be a listings a home that's Wyatt's trying to sell. Even if it's not the most expensive one that fits each buyer, he wants to make sure that they get into the right home for them, and he will still make commission at the end of the day. And lastly, Tom said you must maintain the utmost level of integrity with your clients and always think about yourself in the opposite role. So Tom likes to think about himself in the buyer's role and how he would like things to be handled, and then does whatever he needs to do based off that. So next is understanding the buyer and client, and I relate this with types of buyers. So there's a consumer market, there's also the business market, so there's B2C and B2B. You might have heard these commonly throughout the industry. And Alex Smith is a B2C seller, which means he sells directly to the consumer. Wyatt Wilson is a B2C seller as well, which means that he sells directly to the consumer. And lastly, Tom is a little bit different. He's B2B, so he sells it to other businesses. And this will kind of apply to later in the presentation when Tom's trying to relate with his clients. So the next is communication of product value. And the best term to relate to this is trust-based selling communications, which is talking with the customer rather than at the customer. And there's a two-way form of communication that allows you to develop a relationship with the buyer. And I asked, all three of my interviewees, how do you communicate value of your product to the buyer? Alex Smith simply said, I believe my product is the best thing on the market, and trying to convince my client the same view. I think this is an awesome piece of advice. He's very passionate about his product as well as he thinks that's the best thing on the market. So it's easy to talk about, it's easy to relate, and it's also easy for him to sell because he believes in it. Wyatt Wilson responded with, the home buying process is a completely emotional process, and the buyer solely perceives value of a home. So what he means by this is that it's a very huge purchase in somebody's life. So in communicating value, he makes sure that he talks about the main selling points of the home, and he also tries to relate with the person to make sure that if making this purchase is the right move for them. And Tom Luther lastly said, through verbal and digital communication, we have created value presentations, video clips, and other things to provide prospects to get interested in. So what Tom is saying here is he's speaking more to the marketing side. He's talking about how he uses different tools such as technology, such as presentations, PowerPoints, things like that to explain his product to the customer and make sure they have a full understanding of what they're buying. So the next is concerns. And I relate this with sales resistance, the buyer's objections to a product or service during the sales presentation. And I just simply asked the three interviewees, how would you handle concerns during the sales process? Alex Smith said, listen to what the client has to say, and then try to match the benefits with the doubts. So anything that they might, be worried about the car, if it has new safety features or handling and driving, anything like that, he relates to what they're looking for in the product and how it's still the best fit for them. Wyatt talks about eliminating concerns and overcoming objections is a priority, and I use communication to accomplish that. So obviously, Wyatt's working directly with his customer every single day. That's his sole focus. So he's going to communicate and talk about their concerns. Tom is said, in today's business world, technology provides an excellent way to keep people engaged and update in a timely manner. But I find there's no better way to address concerns than picking up the phone and having a discussion. So Tom's very old school in this way, where if there's ever anything wrong, he doesn't want to email back and forth or text back and forth. He wants to pick up the phone and call you and really gauge the emotion and understanding of your concern and how he can handle it. So the next slide is earning commitment. And commitment signals are favorable statements a buyer makes during a sales presentation that signals the buyer's commitment. So I asked the 3 interviewees, what step do you go through to understand the client/buyer you're working with and ultimately use this to close the sale? Alex said the 10 steps of a sale. It's just a process to eventually memorize. So this is a very common thing within the car sales industry. It's something they use heavily at their dealership. When asking Alex Smith more about this, the 10 steps of the sale, it has to do with financials and the customer's background, kind of everything that we're talking about in the slideshow brought together in one process. Why is that I show the house to the buyer, and while we're reviewing homes, I could constantly building rapport and conducting need assessments with ultimately finding the right home for the buyer and close the deal. So very similar to a few things that Wyatt has said previous in the presentation with, he makes sure he finds the right home for the buyer. At the same time, he communicates what he thinks is best for them and answers any questions he can to the best of their ability. And lastly, Tom said the first step in understanding the prospect's biggest pains and efficiencies are the reasons for considering our product and service. From there, we begin to introduce the client to our product and service and help positions, products, services as great solutions, what current challenges they might face. So the way they do this is they make them understand their product and they really match up what the buyer is looking for to their product and how it would solve a lot of their issues that they're looking for within our product. So lastly, next process is customer relationship, which is building goodwill, the process of converting new customers into lifetime customers by constantly adding value. This is a very, very important thing when talking about sales because we constantly want to have customers and places to sell our products. So I asked, how do you build customer relationships to our 3 interviewees? Alex Smith said, every time I close a deal with a customer, I treat each one like they are lifelong customers and always follow up and stay connected. I asked Alex how he furtherly does this in the process, and he said, he might reach out to a customer once a month. He might send them a Christmas card or a birthday card on holidays like that to make sure that they know that they are still in his customer report. Next, Wyatt said is the home buying process is a completely emotional purchase, helping them with one of the biggest life purchases creates connections and relationships. So like I stated earlier in the presentation, that buying a home can be one of the biggest purchases of your life. So let's automatically make an emotional bond. You're going to remember who your realtor was, how they treated you, and the process of buying that home. So it's very easy for Wyatt to keep that customer relationship very strong and have the buyer remember who he is. And lastly, Tom said, assigning an account manager to every account continually reaches out and to build the ongoing relationships with customers are key. So this kind of shows off the COO side of Tom's responsibilities and the way that he assigns different account managers to different customers. So they're constantly following up with them, making sure they're happy with the product, asking if they're having any issues with the product. And so Tom oversees those people as well as has a few accounts in his name, some of the bigger ones that he does the same exact process with. So customer network. And customer network is best related with customer relationship management, or CRM. It's a system that dynamically links buyers and sellers into rich communication networks to establish and reinforce long-term profitable relationships. And so I asked, how important is building customer network, and how did you do it? And Alex said, regardless of how long you will be in the position, customer networking will result in endless sales if you do it correctly. So Alex Smith really talked about how important it is in the way of returning customers is returning profit, and word of mouth is really big with the way of, they have a great experience with Alex, they might recommend Alex to a friend or somebody to come buy a car. White explained that building a network is a major factor in being successful in my industry. Realtor turnover is about 95%. Building trust-related client lists, maintaining positive reviews, and building a web presence to attract more clients into a network is crucial. So Wyatt really talked to me about the process of branding yourself and making sure that you are a key staple within the industry. And the way that he does that is through digital marketing, through marketing, getting his name out there. As you saw earlier in the presentation, he was on a magazine last month for a real estate company. So obviously people see his face, see the work he's done, and it makes them more attracted to him as a realtor. And lastly, Tom says it is very important the best and most leastly type of sales comes from current customers and clients. So what Tom is saying is if you do a job with one customer, word of mouth spreads, and they're going to work with you or even come back and have a returning sale. So overall, taking care of your customers and following up with them is a very, very important process. So, self-leadership. Self-leadership is the process of guiding oneself to do the right thing and do them well. So, the way that I asked this in my interview is I said, please explain the importance of self-leadership in the sales process. Alex said, this could be one of the most important aspects of a sale. At the end of the day, you motivate yourself to put in the long hours as well as going after the next customer. So Alex is very passionate about his product and what he does. So, he explained that self-leadership is something that came naturally to him, and to get up every day is something that, is obviously can be tough at times, but to motivate yourself is the way that you make money at the end of the day. Wyatt explained that self-leadership is everything. As an independent contractor, it's up to me to bring the leads and generate sales. I am my own boss and can blame no one else for failing. So, Wyatt really needs to reach out to his own customers, and he does a great job of what I just talked about with self-branding. And I love that line at the end that said, can blame no one else for failing. So Wyatt is his biggest self-motivator, and that's how he displays self-leadership. And Tom says, unlike most business positions, salespeople need to heavily rely on managing their own time and typically work independently, thus requiring proper time management skills. So when talking to Tom about this, he said one thing that you need to learn, early on in your career is time management. Make sure that you have enough time to complete certain tasks throughout the day, and always be flexible with your time. Make sure that you get everything done that you need to, and kind of make a list of what's important and what I need to do. So lastly is teamwork. And what I related with this is teamwork skills. Skills that salespeople must learn to build internal partnerships that can translate into sales in organizations. So I asked, how often do you work with a team? And please talk about the importance of a team. And Alex Smith talked about the details of his dealership in the way of, in our dealership, everyone is on the same team. We may have different roles, but at the end of the day, we work towards the same goals. If you do not work together with fellow employees, the fact that we'll work together, there can ultimately be a lot of money lost. So the way that he does this is that he works with a team towards a common goal to make profit. Wyatt says it takes two realtors to close a transaction. It's important for each realtor to work together, even though they are representing different parties. So the way that this can be explained is there's two realtors, one that lists the house and the other one that's helping out clients to buy that. So obviously those two realtors have the same goal of selling the house or having somebody buy the house and get it off the market. So they need to work together in that process. And lastly, Tom said, in my current position all the time, I work to manage multiple teams with our organization. My job is providing my team with everyday needs to complete their job. So Tom talks about, again, his roles of a COO and making sure that his team is set to, close deals and really bring in profit. And so Tom does anything that he needs to possible to make sure that his team has that. So the summary, I had 3 overall generic takeaways of the presentation, and that was, number 1, know your product and be passionate about it. Number 2, communication. Communication both of the value of your product and also personal communication with your clients to make sure that they are the most important objective. And that goes into my third point of customer relationships and the way of you need to build those and keep a good clientele throughout the years to have returning sales and keep a good reputation within the industry. I had takeaways from each interview and the industry that they represent. So number 1 was car sales, and Alex, having confidence in your product, it seems the most important, understanding your client's needs. So making sure you understand each product you're getting out there, understanding what your product or understanding what your buyer's looking for within a product. Real estate is the second one with Wyatt. He said put customers' needs first and build your personal brand. So the way I took this back was you need to really make sure that you put the customer's personal assets first, and then you also need to, at the same time, use that in a way to promote yourself within the industry and really focus on your personal brand so you can bring more clients in. And lastly is medical sales with Tom. He said, make sure your customer fully understands the product and overall communication. And Tom experiences medical sales. A lot of times he works with doctors and other very high educated people. So he always makes sure that they understand the business side of things and understands the product and the way that they need to be using it. Lastly, this is my works cited page for all my sources. I thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope you enjoyed.